Hello and welcome to yet another review here on Theme Park Worldwide, this time from Thorpe Park Fright Nights 2018. Now normally I would have filmed a full vlog from this event, walking around, getting our reactions as we head round the event, but as we just come back from Orlando, Florida, I was absolutely shattered. We just flew back, I only had a few hours sleep and it was straight down to Thorpe Park ready for the event. And yeah, I was a bit jet lagged, I didn't quite feel up to filming a vlog, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to get a little bit of footage from the event that I'll overlay into this whilst I'm speaking about it, and then sit down here at the World of Theme Parks and talk more about the event. It also gave me a bit more time to think about each of the attraction and what I thought to it exactly. So yeah, we'll get started in just a moment. Now of course I've been to lots of different Thorpe Park Fright Nights over the years. I've absolutely loved some years at that event, other years haven't been that good at all. And for me this year, unfortunately, it's one of those years where it was right down here compared to some of the other years. Don't get me wrong, there was still some really good stuff that I enjoyed at this event, and I'll be talking about that in this video. But in general, I'm not going to ramble on too much. I'm going to keep it quite short and snappy, just so you get to hear my thoughts on all the different attractions. Now, there's 11 different attractions that have been brought in for Fright Nights 2018. We experienced 9 of them. The 2 that we didn't do, we did all the scare attractions, so to speak, that were on offer for free. There was the upcharge containment scare attraction that we didn't do. And we also, because of time, didn't get a chance to do the Screenplex Cinema, which is like a 4D experience, which is held in the theatre where Angry Birds 4D is. So we didn't get to do those 2 attractions, but other than that, we did all the other 9 experiences on offer. So there's 7 mazes, so to speak, and then you've got the 2 scare zones as well. So I'm going to talk through those now individually, and like I said at the start of the video, I'll put some footage in of these attractions. Now I know a lot of you would have loved me to film a vlog, but honestly I was so tired during the event. If I do go back at some point this Fright Nights, which I don't think I'm going to have time to do, I'd rather prioritise doing some other events over going back to this one. But yeah, if I do, I'll certainly film a vlog. But if not, don't get me wrong, at least you guys have got to hear my thoughts on this year's event. So let's start off then by talking about one of the new attractions, and that is the Walking Dead Do or Die. So the entrance to this attraction is in between Rush and Colossus, and when you walk up towards it, you see a large school bus with all the windows misted out. That certainly builds up to the anticipation of what's going on inside. You've also got a selection of shipping containers at the back. It's got Sanctum, which is right across it as well. Obviously Sanctum was the attraction that launched last year. It's not come back this year because it was over by the Swarm Island. You actually walked just past the toilets by a swarm, and then you'd actually lead out to the maze. So yes, they've brought the containers back, but instead of just having them at the side, you actually walk through the containers in this maze, as I'm going to talk about now. That leads me on to say, of course, with this being a full review of the event, there is going to be spoilers in this, so if you don't want to know what's going to happen in the attractions, I'd recommend turning off from this point onwards. So yes, to get to it, you actually have to walk around the Zodiac, which is the spinning Enterprise wheel, to get to the queue line entrance. We waited about 20 minutes or so, which I'd say was quite fair for the Walking Dead Do or Die. Then of course we had our actor briefing at the start saying like, yeah, you can't touch the actors, no filming inside, all that jazz. And then of course we stepped onto the school bus. Now when we got onto the bus, there was an actor down there and another one came on and actually attacked that actor, which was quite a good scene actually. We were made to sit down on the bus. Like I said, from the outside all the windows are misted up, so you couldn't really see out either. And that was great, a good little scene that maybe lasted about 40 to 50 seconds there on the bus. After that we were led out. It's a free flow maze, no hands on shoulders, and yeah, we walked around a bit of an outdoor scene, lots of just random stuff. What you can see, it's been done on a budget. That leads me on to say a few of these attractions that I'm going to talk about, you can tell have been done on a budget. And when I say done on a budget, literally they've got whatever they can from around the park and chucked it in there. But that isn't necessarily always a bad thing, and it certainly wasn't with the first maze, the Walking Dead Do or Die. Lots of random stuff around, there was clothes and stuff hanging up. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't class it as a full-on scare maze, it was more of a scare zone with actors, I would say. But we got some really good jump scares actually in this. The actors in there were great. We went through a couple of the shipping containers where there was body bags hanging up, some really dark scenes with the flickering lighting, that sort of thing, strobes. And yeah, that was really good. We had some good jump scares. There wasn't many actors in there. I'd probably say there was about maybe 4 or 5 actors in there in total. But there was a chainsaw scare in there as well. That was, you know, it was quite decent. decent, but towards the end of the attraction, you could tell that it was just literally black walls. It was Harris fencing with black walls, and like I say, it had been done on a massive budget. Don't get me wrong, it was better than Sanctum, but yeah, I still didn't rank it that highly. It was just under 5 minutes in length. And yeah, we came out of it and we thought, you know what, we got some good jump scares. It does what it says on the tin. It is a scare attraction, but in terms of the theming and overall atmosphere of it, it wasn't anything that spectacular. That leads me on to the second attraction based on The Walking Dead, and that's Living Nightmare. No changes in there really since last year. Any minor stuff has happened, but I must say the actors in there were absolutely fantastic. We had some really good jump scares when we walked through. Of course, you've got some great scenery. There's a bus in there that you walk through. You've got some big sceneries to look up at, some big set pieces like windows and doors and balconies, all that sort of stuff. Lots of different rooms that you go into. Obviously it was Cabin in the Woods before, so and there's a lot of smaller rooms from when it was that. And yeah, I very much enjoyed it. We had some good scares, some good screams in there. And like I say, the actors were really on point. It was a very good, strong maze, I would say, The Walking Dead Living Nightmare. I would say it was better than last year. I didn't get a chance to do the extreme run because it was open during the summer. But overall, it was enjoyable. I thought it was good. It was around 6 minutes in length. And yeah, it didn't feel short on actors, which is always a bonus. Whereas The Walking Dead Do or Die, maybe it could have been a lot better if they'd have had another few actors in that one. Moving on then to the next attraction, which is Vulcan Peak. Now, them two attractions there look absolutely fantastic compared to what I'm about to talk to you about now. I'm going to go straight in there and say it, and I did put it in our social media post from the day. Vulcan Peak, new for this year, is officially the worst scare maze we've ever experienced at Theme Park Worldwide. It's less than 5 minutes in length, or it was on our run through anyway. I don't know if it's got any longer since, I highly doubt it. And this attraction, we actually found out from talking to some of the staff on there, it's not actually got any scare actors inside. It's Thorpe Park staff, and literally they've got megaphones because it's a hooded maze. So we went in, it's in the former I'm a Celebrity attraction, just behind Darren Brown's Ghost Train. And yeah, literally we went in, watched a bit of a pre-show, then they put the bags on our heads and we followed a rope through I'm a Celebrity basically. You could feel like all the branches and stuff in there. Nothing had really been touched. You could even see a little bit through the bag. And then literally for about 3 or 4 minutes, actors were using megaphones to go like rah, through. Honestly, it was awful. They were doing that all the way through. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 members of staff. Like I say, I can't even say actors, members of staff inside that. And then we were led to we took our hoods off, we walked through like a big squeeze where they basically blast air in and you walk through it. Yeah, and that was it. We walked through an actor corridor. You could even see like I assume there were like servers or Wi-Fi routers for the area you could see above you. And yeah, it was just black walls. We then walked through the scene at the end, what would be I'm a Celebrity, where you'd crawl up, and they used to like have all the rocks and stuff falling down in there, and then you go down the slide into the shop. We walked through that, but there was a black curtain hanging up to block that off. And yeah, that was it. Honestly, it's the worst scare attraction I've ever done. You could tell that no thought had gone into it at all, other than the Q-Line audio, which I really liked. It was very similar to like the Jungle Cruise at the Disney parks. I really liked that. And that leads me on to say audio throughout the event was great actually, walking around the areas and stuff, but more about that in just a moment. But yeah, in terms of Vulcan Peak, the worst scare maze I've ever done. Honestly, I would say if you are going to this event this year, don't even bother queuing for it if it's more than 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Like, honestly, I would not bother. It is absolutely awful. Whoever allowed for that attraction to open, I'm really shocked that they did, to be honest, because it's absolutely awful. Next up then, let's talk a little bit about Blair Witch. After having some time off from the event, it's back for 2018. Already for me that seems like a bit of an interesting decision because they had it for a couple of years. First year they had Blair Witch, it was absolutely awful. Then the second year they had it, it was actually quite a lot better, and we got some really good jump scares with the torches, and they come up to you and flash them in your face. And then it's had a year off and it's come back this year, and like I say, it's located right next door to Vulcan Peak, and it is a very short maze. We actually waited 60 minutes for this, and it was a less than 5 minute experience. It runs from next to Vulcan Peak, which is obviously the I'm a Celebrity building, and it just runs round the back of that shop and show building and comes out in the exit to Nemesis Inferno. So yeah, it was very short, this one. In terms of the scares going on, it was better than the first year when they had it, but I wouldn't rate it as highly as when it came back for a second year. It was just so short, honestly, because obviously it used to be located further along, and obviously Platform 15 has come in since then, and obviously other stuff what they've done. But yeah, it just seems a bit of an interesting decision to bring it back, to be honest. Like, we didn't get many scares at all. Yes, they're still doing the torch flicking in your face thing, but I'd say it looks pretty in terms of they were lighting all the trees up with all the greens and blues and stuff. That looked quite nice. And obviously there's a few tents and stuff scattered around. But yeah, it felt very short on actors. I'd say maybe 4 actors tops in there, and then literally the finale where we came out of a room, and yeah, and that was it. We had a couple of little jump scares in there, and that was it. Honestly, we waited an hour for that, and we were all really disappointed. Nowhere near as bad as Vulcan Peak, because at least some thought had gone into Blair Witch, but still, it was a poor attraction this year, in my opinion. Moving on then to another new attraction at Fright Nights for 2018, Dead Creek Woods. Now, this is using the theming from Zombie Hunt, which was an interactive experience where the zombies, well, actors would wear like these targets, and you'd get given a gun and you'd have to shoot them, basically. And that was running throughout summer this year. So they brought it back but got rid of the guns and kept the theming pretty much the same. They'd added a couple of bits, a few minor changes, and some audio. The audio was good in there. And again, some pretty lighting, like lighting up the trees and everything. Because when you think Platform 15, Dead Creek Woods and Blair Witch are all in that section at the back of the park with all trees above, so they can do quite a lot with lighting, and they did do that. They used the location to the potential, in my opinion. But yeah, in terms of the scares, yet again, and even the storyline, it wasn't good. I felt like the actors in there were really unmotivated, and again, it was so short. Luckily, we waited less than 10 minutes to go in. The attraction itself, less than 5 minutes yet again. I think when I timed it was like 4 minutes 35 seconds, which is not a lot at all, is it really? I think for me with that, it would have been better if they'd have just extended Platform 15 and made one massive half-hour long experience or something, because it was just felt like so much wasted space at the back there. Don't get me wrong, they did use the trees to the potential with the lighting, and it had some atmospheric audio, but yeah, in general, I wasn't that impressed with Dead Creek Woods. I still didn't quite understand what the storyline was in there, but there was a chainsaw scare. Obviously that's going to get some people. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of chainsaws. I find them a bit overused, but it did have a chainsaw scare, so that's obviously going to get quite a few people. Moving on then to Platform 15, the 3rd year of this attraction. When it first launched, wasn't that impressed. Last year, loved it. They'd added lots of stuff, and yet again this year, very much enjoyed it. Only minor changes. Obviously, you enter the attraction, you get given a bit of a storyline. However, it was a bit minimal for us because I think they were doing an actor swap over, but everybody else was getting it, so at least they've not cut that back. You see the old train, that makes me sad because obviously it used to take you around the area, around Kinda Creek, and of course there's all fire effects on the train. Actors come out you there, that was really good. And then of course you walk around the old train track into some buildings. Beautiful set design in there, lots of jump scares, banging on the wood, like these old sort of wooden like cottages what you go in, which are really good, these wooden cabins. And then of course you're led round some different walls of some outdoor scenes, and then into like the finale, which is the long tunnel. We had some really good scares in there. Everyone was jumping and screaming in there. I had a few jump scares, so yeah, I did enjoy Platform 15. I thought the actors were really strong in there, some of the strongest at the event, and yeah, overall it was very enjoyable. Moving on from Platform 15 to Soar Alive. It's been there for many, many years. It came in just after Soar the Ride opened the year after, and obviously it opened during the season, and then they decided to close it and only open it at Fright Nights, but it did open during summer this year. So it's one of those, isn't it, really, that it keeps coming back, then it shuts again. But yeah, it has come back. No changes inside, only minor little things, like there was a lot more smoke this time in there, which made it great. But honestly, for me, Soar Alive was the best scare attraction at that event this year, which I would say is slightly concerning. And what, it's been there like 8 years, it's a bit concerning that something that's been there for that long is still the best one for scares. It's a proper maze, and I think that's what let me down with Thorpe Park this time. It didn't feel like there was that many proper mazes. Obviously you've got Living Nightmare and Soar Alive, I suppose Platform 15 in a way, but it's still outdoor sections. In terms of an indoor proper maze, you've only got the 2, haven't you, really, out of everything. So the whole event felt very much like a lot of quantity but not a lot of quality. But Soar Alive, actors were great, fully staffed in there from what we saw, and yeah, we all really quite enjoyed that one. Now, the last couple of attractions that I'm going to talk about are the scare zones. The first one being the Big Top Showtime. Obviously, the Big Top's a maze that they've had for a few years. This year, it's not come back, and it was really missed from the event, in my opinion. I can sort of see what they've tried to do in terms of adding a bit more scare theatre around the park, a bit more going on in terms of street entertainment, but for me the Big Top was massively missed. Like I said just when I was talking about Saw Alive, it feels like really there's only the two big indoor mazes, and it did lack having the Big Top this year. It has come in as a scare zone in the Dome, which is at the entrance to Thorpe Park, but I found it quite interesting because when we actually went into the Dome on a couple of occasions, there was no actors about at all, but there was a stage with some props around, and I believe they do a show there, but there was not advertised on the map, and it wasn't actually on the stage anywhere what time that show was. So hopefully that's something what they might change, because yeah, a lot of people seemed like, oh, where are the actors? Not just our group, there was a lot of groups coming into the Dome looking about, and yeah, they're expecting actors, and so were we, but they were actually roaming around the park. So that's good that they are roaming, at least they had them, but I kind of feel like they should be just roaming around the Dome and maybe on that little outdoor bit before you go down the ramps into the rest of the park. But yeah, the set design looked good. There is a show on there, didn't manage to see it because we didn't know the times, like I say, but yeah, from what we saw, it was good having a bit of scare theatre going round. And finally, what was one of the highlights of the event actually was Terror at Amity High, another scare zone. Very small cast, maybe what, 5 or 6 of them, but they were doing a brilliant job. They were all around by Stealth and Tidal Wave, all around Amity, and they were brilliant, they were. Of course, you had like the cheerleaders there, like you had a baseball player, all that sort of stuff. It was great, they were really good, very interactive, and yeah, I was very impressed with those overall. I felt like they really added to the event, and in fact I got a little bit of footage of that scare zone, so I'll put that in for you now, so you can see that in action up by Stealth. Hello.
2, 4, 6, 8, it's your blood that we appreciate. Woo! Did you see that? I made it on the cheerleading squad.
Really?
How exciting!
Well done, you've done a really good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You deserve it.
It's like I won an award.
You really deserve it.
I think so.
You do.
I've worked really hard to work on my
We're going to get me in trouble. Stop filming around cheerleaders.
Ready for the high jump?
Yeah.
See how good it was?
Well done.
Yeah, it was good, right?
That was very good.
I surprise myself sometimes. I made myself so thirsty I need to have a drink.
Really? What have you got in the bag?
You know, just a little.
Oh no! Oh! My name's Roy. What's yours? Nice to meet you, Blood Bank Charlotte.
They were really good fun, and as much as they weren't scary, it was more of creepy, like, ooh, what are you doing sort of thing. They were great. We all loved them in our group, and everybody else seemed to be really enjoying those around by Stealth. It had a really good atmosphere. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts to all the different attractions. Just a bit about the event in general. The atmosphere around the park was quite interesting because there was a lot of new audio that had been done for this year that was great. I loved it all around Amity and some of the other areas. Of course, there was some good lighting at the entrance on the bridge where they had like all the sky beams going off and stuff. That was great, but the event just seems to lack having more big mazes. I'd rather, instead of them putting in all this quantity of attractions, they maybe just limited it to 4 scare mazes, and they've done a really good job of theming them and making sure the best actors were in there in all of them. It felt like they tried to spread the event out so much that actually it lost quite a lot of its charm, in my opinion. For me, it's one of my least favourite Fright Nights. I mean, I look back on some of the stuff we've had over the years, like the Asylum, that I really enjoyed that, Freezer, Experiment 10, some great attractions. I just felt like there used to be a lot more bigger mazes, and this year they've sort of tried to think, actually, let's have, 11 different attractions going off, but actually, it's kind of took away from it because there's not as much main stuff. I think people would rather have maybe 4 or even 5 main attractions, and then everything else is sort of maybe scare zones and that sort of thing, because it got a bit too much, especially because of the queues as well for each thing. Of course, you go into a scare event, you're going to get queues, but I kind of feel like Thorpe Park might have done it to try and combat the queues, thinking let's put in all these different scare mazes, but actually they're not full on mazes, and you're still queuing in an hour for them in some cases, so it's not really worked in my opinion. For next year I'd like to see the event completely refreshed. I kind of feel like that's what they might be doing anyway. It kind of felt a bit like, let's just bodge something together for this year, hope it goes down well, and then for next year we'll completely relaunch the event. That's what I can hope is going to happen anyway. I'll be a bit disappointed if we have a similar lineup next year, but in my opinion to Thorpe Park, let's get the event squashed down a bit in terms of the amount of things, and let's have more individual quality. And when you get the quality right in those attractions, then it's time to start experimenting and trying new things and expanding the event. But there you go, that's my thoughts on Thorpe Park Fright Nights. Overall, I think Alton Towers Scarefest is a much better event than Fright Nights. We've also recently just done Extreme Scream Park. That was better, and a lot of the farms themselves are much better. It's also worth pointing out, actually, before I wrap this up, because of the amount of attractions, we actually didn't get in that many night rides at all, which is that that's a big part of the event, isn't it, night rides? So I honestly think the guests in general and enthusiasts and ourselves would appreciate it more having less attractions with a lot more going on in them, in terms of having all these attractions spread out everywhere with less going on in them. Because in general I feel like you get more for your money, you get more done, more night rides, and more soaking up the atmosphere of the park. But there you go, they're my thoughts. Let me know what you think of this year's Fright Nights down below in the comments. Of course, they're my opinions. You guys might have had an amazing night. You might have some different thoughts to me on the attractions, so let me know down below. I always like to see what you guys think. Thanks for watching another video here on Theme Park Worldwide, and that means it's time to spook those credits. See you soon.